Hello and welcome everybody to Hot Takes, the show where, well, we take hot takes. I'm Rob, he's Jerm. As you can see by my forehead, I have lost this week. Somehow, I want to talk about this with you people, but first off, Jerm, how we doing, man?
We're doing good. We're doing good. It's another day. You know, we're out here ready to put out some content as always. Liking your new look so far.
Thank you. Yes. You know, I had forgotten initially what the bet was, and well, I've now figured it out. So,
I think we got to talk about your tweet that you put out as well.
Oh yes, that's right. Okay, so we got two. All right, so. But I don't know how I keep losing these so badly. You know, I won the first one, and then we're episode 4 now.
Started out good, and then
1 and 3, baby. You know, we'll keep track of these. But yeah, so as you can probably tell, I have hair. For a lot of you who were worried about it, I have been waiting.
Like, is this pre-recorded or what?
I do have hair. I know it's probably a big surprise to a lot of you. That Snapchat filter is insanely good.
I know.
Holy shit. I was like looking at it, I was like, oh my god, this is what I'll look like if I go bald. Luckily, my grandfather that's the whole thing. Your mom's god, dad. Mom's dad is normally the one that gets you the hair, and so my grandfather had a lot of hair.
He won the gene lottery.
Yeah, for now.
Something like that.
So,
but no, I mean, I was dying when that tweet got put out. Everybody responding to it and stuff. I was happy how it played out. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, it was awesome. It was perfect. Now, I do think one of these weeks, eventually, we got to do you with a wig. Like you know, with the fake hair. That'll be so great. Either that or we're going to do one where it makes it look like we've shaved our eyebrows off. Something like that. I think that would be fun too. But
yeah.
So then now I lose again. And I now have your name written on my face currently in dry erase marker, which I'm hoping will come out of my
we don't know yet. You're gonna tune into the next video to see. Yeah.
Well, as I was telling Jeremy here, I have another podcast / live show that I will be doing later tonight. We are recording this on a Monday with all the other LCS podcast people, like the 100 Thieves people, FlyQuest, Cloud9, those people. I'm excited for that, but I'm gonna have to try to wash this off before then.
You can leave it too.
Yeah. I could just leave it. Give you the extra.
Times are tough. We need a little bump.
Well, we'll take a screenshot of this eventually, and we'll get it out there on the Twitterverse as well. But just so you guys know, we do follow up on these punishments. Like we are 4 in a row. We're doing it. I've had to play the Teemo game. Jerm had to express his love for his favorite person, Dunk.
Good times.
They've been great times. And we have still plenty to talk about this week. I'm already forgetting if we came up with a punishment. Oh, no, we did come up with a punishment for this week. So we'll go through that later. And we'll discuss our
good to go
as well. With it, though, this will be our first time where we actually have... I don't know why I'm coughing so much. I'm not sick. I just have something in my throat right now. So, of course... Talk to Jerm for 10 minutes and nothing happens. We hit record and I'm
got some stage fright.
You know me, big scared boy here. Yeah, so let's go into it. So the news has already been announced literally within the last hour for Onda joining TSM Academy. Then we will likely be getting, I would assume either today or tomorrow or sometime soon, Chime going to TSM Academy. Now, I talked about this a lot on Talking TSM. You can go there, watch that. This episode will be on the Gamehouse's page this time, I believe, if I remember correctly. Or is it on your channel? Okay.
No, it's on yours.
Yeah, I'm getting confused. Anyways, what do you think of these two moves? I have some thoughts on them. I want to see where we line up, or if we line up.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as the Anda move, I don't really know what to make of it. Obviously, he's a guy who's had some LCS time before. He's looked good sometimes. I mean, good, whatever. Obviously, good is relative to what players are talking about and stuff. He's looked better than some people would think. I think at times he's looked not so good at times. I mean, it's maybe some stability or some kind of structure to the academy team might add a little something in terms of leadership or just. I think it overall should be an upgrade too. I don't really think it matters if you are winning or losing academy games. TSM Academy team not doing super good right now, so I think some changes may be warranted. Timing maybe a little bit weird 3 weeks into the season, but I think it's a fine move. It doesn't really move the needle much for me because it's not like, oh, if Spica leaves, now we've got our guy for next year. It's just like he's an academy jungler. He's gonna be the academy jungler. Or maybe he's not. Either way, it is what it is. As far as the Chime news, I'm very, very excited about this one. Chime was actually a guy who, I'd made some like rebuilding for TSM videos in between the spring and summer, that type of stuff. Chime was a guy that I thought I would have liked to see them consider for their LCS position. Once it looked like Shenny. I thought he was going to be leaving. I didn't even expect Shenny to be back with TSM at all this split. I thought Chime was maybe going to be a guy they need to look at, especially if Golden Guardians has Ole locked in. They're trying to get his green card done, all that stuff. Chime's looking good. I really want TSM to start taking some more chances on some academy talent. I think it makes way more sense for them to take chances on these native and academy players, have a couple of them work out, and then bring in some imports rather than going backwards trying to find young imports. And then you're like, oh, we don't have any good native players to put around them, so it doesn't even matter if we have good imports. So I think this is a home run. With all prospects, you never know if they're going to work out. Chime's looked good this year. Could he go to the LCS and be good? Yeah. Could he go to the LCS and suck? Yeah. But I love at least the attempt. Again, he's going to be starting out in academy, but hey, if this guy's their starting support in 2023, no problem from me.
Yeah, and so I think that we're pretty much on the same page, except I will explain, I think, the Anda move. Here's how I see this. TSM tried to run basically a team of 5 completely young, basically brand new players, right? We had Soul with no experience in academy. We had Hyper with 1 year and a half split-ish or whatever of, whatever that was. Takeover in his first year of academy. Instinct in his first year of academy. And Shenyi in his first year of academy. I think it was a lot to expect Xmithy to be able to be the voice of reason and everything on a team like that. Hyper was never the guy in my mind anyways. I think Anda comes in, and I think he is a veteran. He has played in the LCS. If I remember correctly, he's even gone to Worlds, I think, with 100 Thieves. I'd need to check on that, but it's possible.
Sounds right.
Because I know he played with them in 2018, and I believe that's when they went. But my point is with him is that he has a lot of experience. He's a veteran. They're not going to have to teach him new things. It's going to be you come in, and I actually didn't know this. Do you know how old Takeover is?
No. I would guess. I wanted to say like 21.
I thought the same thing. He is only 19.
Yeah,
I did not realize that he was young. I really did think he was like 21, 22, somewhere around there. He is not. He is actually young, which makes him a much more intriguing prospect to me than initially. I was like, count Takeover out. I don't care about a 21-year-old mid laner who's kind of native, kind of not kind of thing. I don't really know. I mean, I know he's not, but we'll see if this minor region BS happens, which we should potentially talk about because I think we have very differing opinions on that one. But I think their goal with him is like they have somebody who is stable, who knows how to play. He is good in academy. We have seen it multiple times. He is a solid academy jungler. Is he going to push Speak out? Absolutely not. But with Soul, with Takeover, and with Instinct, you have 3 potential carries right there for TSM. I think those are their guys for the future, and they're all under 20 years old. You got to remember, Instinct is 17. Everybody's like ready to write him off already. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Not everybody's going to be Danny and be instantly good at 17, 18 years old. Instinct is still fine mechanically, and now you add a support who, whether it's Mia or whether it's Chime, they're gonna be much more consistent. Again, I think the Chinese experiment has officially, obviously ended. I'd been told even back in March that they were already ready to cut it. I think there needs to be a conversation that needs to happen about how much of this is Parth's blame, to be honest. And I don't think enough people are talking about that. Again, you can hear a whole thing about it on Talkie TSM. But I am actually super pumped for both of these moves because what it signifies to me is they're saying we do not give a shit about what happens other than let's give these 3 young players the best opportunity to get better instead of having to stress. I interviewed Instinct. He felt like he needed to be the leader because he had been around in the competitive scene for a year and a half on major teams. This guy is 17 years old. You don't need to put that stress on him. You just need him to get better. With Chime, should he stay down in Academy, which I don't think will be very long either, with Onda coming into TSM as, you know, this veteran presence, it's going to allow Xsmithy, Onda, and I believe they even worked together on Evil Geniuses at some point. I believe it was that, or I don't know. Yeah, wait, did Xsmithy play on Evil Geniuses? No, he didn't. I'm thinking of Immortals. Immortals. I think they worked together on Immortals at one point. They're going to have some synergy. This team is now going to have probably had a week. You know, they're just announcing the players, but we heard the leaks, you know, a couple weeks ago now. I think this is a good plan. I really like it. And if things that I am hearing, I don't know if you're hearing this as well, is that actually it looks like Spica might be re-signing with TSM. It's something that I had heard in recent weeks. You have a young team of Soul, Spica, Maple, Instinct, and Chime. Chime being a little older than I think most people would expect. He's 23, but at support, we're kind of realizing that doesn't really matter. That's not a bad team. You know, I mean, that's a good young core of players that if Instinct and Soul can really figure it out, that could be the start of the rebirth of TSM. And I think it's smart to make the move now. Give these guys, because you got to remember, LCS Academy, right? It goes all the way through Proving Grounds too, plus a playoffs. They're going to play like another 40 to 50 games together, potentially. So
which is crazy when you look at the LCS schedule.
Yeah, which is great. Like more games, more practice, the better for these guys. They still have a chance to make the top 8 or whatever to make the playoffs. I think all LCS Academy teams make the initial playoffs, if I remember correctly, but this is a good chance for them to turn things around. I really like these moves, and I think it's not only setting up TSM for the now where they are going to be better. They'll start winning some games, get their confidence back. Again, well, theoretically, at least they will win, but at a minimum, you're taking pressure off of 3 players with a lot less experience and adding 2 that have a ton more. So I love these moves for TSM personally.
Yeah, and I also think it's just you're getting to the point where something's got to change. You know, you're bottom 3 LCS, bottom 1 or 2 Academy. I mean, that just can't be acceptable. And yeah, it is nice that they're finally getting, you know, moved on from the whole Chinese experiment or whatever. I mean, that has to, yes, we're moving on from that, but it's got to be talked about in a vacuum of TSM's last 2 off seasons being the Sword Art contract and then whatever the hell just happened this year with the Chinese players. That is 2 pretty historically bad off seasons, and we're talking about, like you said, Parth needs some blame. Yeah, we're talking about, Parth is this GM mastermind who, you know, orchestrated all these years of TSM. He's also got, at least in my opinion, the 2 worst LCS off seasons maybe in history under his belt as well.
I don't know about that, but there are bad ones. Bad ones. I don't think the one from 2 years ago was too bad. The Sword Art thing didn't work out, but the rest of that team wasn't too bad, and they did finish first in summer. Let's not forget that.
I think the Sword Art contract was historically egregious. The amount of money, especially to pair him up with Lost,
I think Worlds finals though. That's one of those sports contracts that you're paying somebody who may not have been the main piece, but hoping that he'll be something great for you.
Right.
They took a big risk for sure.
Right. Is that worth the biggest contract in LCS history?
If they had gone to Worlds and won another championship in 2021, they probably should have. People forget they were 1 game away from making Worlds in 2021 summer. Like,
oh yeah, no,
they
no,
were
no,
they were right
I know.
there. That C9 team pulled off some pretty crazy stuff in that
Yeah,
series.
no, I think they should have won. I think if you run that series back, you end up winning most
win.
of the
Yeah,
time.
because they would have won. They won game 1, I think, and then it was games 2 and 3 that they just randomly threw. Like, no, they absolutely should have won that series. And then I think they have a chance, honestly, at the finals at that point too. So I will give you this Chinese experiment. I think they pivoted really hard. I think they also really relied on Peter Zhang, who allegedly, I'm going to use allegedly still,
Thank you.
did something wrong. I still believe that he did, but whatever the case is, they did depend on him. They depended on Parth, and another person who never gets talked about right now. If we're gonna praise and talk about how Dominic is the guy making decisions, Lena was there making these decisions too. And the fact that nobody blames her at all or Parth for these absolutely historic mess ups this last offseason, like, bro, I'm sorry, but I just don't get it. I really don't. And it's not me trying to call out anybody for anything other than just somebody has to be held accountable for how these things went. And you obviously can't do it to the person like Dominic who wasn't even there yet. So I've even seen people on Reddit trying to claim that, he did this and that, and I'm like, bro,
he orchestrated it.
Like, let's be honest.
Yeah. No, I definitely, I think that's all weird. I do think that still, though, I like Dominic. I've talked with him, and he seems to be doing a lot of stuff right. I still think that even just in the vacuum of this year since Dominic stepped in, I still have some criticisms about how TSM has handled this year. I think in a lot of ways they've fallen short of some of the goals and stuff they met in terms of transparency, communication, some of this stuff. Did they take a step up from years past? Maybe in some ways, but I still think that there was a lot of kind of, I don't even know, just still a wall, and maybe even rightfully so. Maybe you should do that, but it just didn't totally sit right with me. Some of the conversations that were being put out beforehand, I don't think those have aged very well.
Well, we'll find out, because I think this offseason is going to be a very important one for TSM, and it's going to be one where I think they have a lot of big decisions to make. And this will be the first time where, Dominic and Glenn have full control. I think something I am surprised about is that Chawi is still the head coach right now. That is something I'm genuinely surprised about. They must feel like there's something still there that they are hanging on to with him, because I just feel like none of these players have gotten better, and their drafts have only gotten worse, and they weren't really good in the spring either with their drafts. So I don't know. There could be a full overhaul coming for TSM in the offseason, and I think I'm going to hold off my total criticism or my total praise until they actually have a full offseason to implement their plans, do what they want to do, make their own decisions with the money that is available to them and everything else. So
yeah, and I think that's going to be a big storyline for me is how much money is going to be available to them, and some of that we'll never know. Just because they do or don't spend money doesn't mean that more or less money wasn't available to them, but definitely something that I'm going to be watching out for. And the story of this regime will be told probably 2-3 years from now, probably this next season. You still have like an excuse of these things take time, yada yada yada.
Trust the process, baby.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can always say, it's like the trap card or whatever. It's sometimes warranted, sometimes not, but it can always buy you a little bit of time. It's going to be an interesting one. They have a lot of different directions they could go. That's a curse and a blessing, and good luck to them. It's a mess right now. Not impossible to get out of. Luckily for them, they're in the LCS. There's a lot of teams that like to shoot themselves in the foot, and if you can avoid a disaster, you can start climbing up the ranks. But 8th place, 10th place, not good.
My goal for them personally is as long as they make 6th. I think if they can get 6th and they can get to that double elimination bracket, then I think that at least gives them a chance to not call it a completely terrible season. But
do you think they're going to get 6th?
No. Not at all. No. I would, if they had beaten Dignitas, I would say yes. Being 2-5 right now, when you have Cloud9 and FlyQuest, I would argue 2 of the top 4 teams right now in the LCS. At least top 5 for those of you who clearly didn't feel similarly to me.
For the 3 FlyQuest fans out there.
Yeah, right. I mean, TSM can beat both of those teams on their best day. They can absolutely take both of them down, I think. But You'll see. I actually have some articles coming out. I'm doing picks now, and you will see I did not pick them in either of those games. So we'll see.
Gotcha.
Continuing on, we've had this break, right? And I think you and I agreed it was a little bit in a weird time. Like, I actually wish they would have just waited one more week, like be like a true middle of the season kind of a thing. But baseball's not in the middle of the season technically with their all-star break, so whatever, I mean, it's fine. I'm not going to complain about it. I do think that if they're going to do this next year, they really should have records carry over. I liked that system. I really think they need to bring it back, but whatever. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. I'll try to hype it up at some point. Yeah, LCS bring it back. But what I wanted to ask you is, what is your number one team that is going to benefit from this break? Okay, because I believe that this break, give me your best one first, and then we'll do the one that got hurt the most. I think we're gonna end up agreeing on the one that got hurt the most, honestly. But this is a good break. Who do you think? Which team do you think is going to benefit most from having this extra week off?
Yeah, I think there's three good ways you could go. I think we're both going to go the same way. I think the best it's got to be Cloud9. I would say there's not too much argument to be had there. We'll see if it actually ends up being the best for them. We'll see how they look coming out of the break. But I think at least on paper, the team with the least practice, team with the least time, team with a ton of talent, a ton to gain. I expect them. Maybe they still don't even come out hot, but either way, they're getting further along in this whole trajectory or whatever. I still think by the time playoffs come around, they'll get there. But top 8, you just got to make playoffs. It doesn't really matter too much. I think there's also cases to be made for Evil Geniuses, of course. They probably just need a break. I think it's going to be good for them. I think if they didn't have a break, they'd still be fine. They'd still be chilling. But I think it's good. And then the last team that I seem to be able to make a case for is TSM. You go 0-2, you have that rough week, you lose a Dignitas. I saw, I think Michael had the interview with Hooney, like, we really got to beat Dignitas, all this stuff. I wanted to quote it with like the he doesn't know meme or something, this aged very poorly, very fast. But I can only imagine what that did to them mentally. It's like, we got slacked by EG, but hey guys, we got Dignitas tomorrow, and then we get to go into the break. Oh, we lost a Dignitas. Maybe we're the worst team right now. I don't think they are. I still think on paper this team is good. I hope that they use this time off to be like, guys, let's regroup. We're good. We're better than Dignitas. We're fine. Not use the week to like kind of wallow in like, we just lost a Dignitas type thing. I expect them to come back stronger.
Yeah. So I mean, those were definitely my 3 that I was going to pick too. I've been struggling with the Evil Geniuses one, honestly, a little bit, because they are just so hot. Yeah. I almost wanted to go the other way, but then I was like, you know what, dude, like, this is going to be awesome. I bet you they did not do a single thing last week. I bet you they just hung out, probably went and played some games, other than League of Legends. They probably read or slept or watched movies.
I think JoJo said he was going like back to Canada for a couple days or something.
I'm sure,
I think that's perfect.
FlyQuest went to Disneyland. Why not do these kinds of things? You have a break,
right. And this is if you're gonna go to Worlds and go far, like this is the last chance you have to do till November to do something like this. Yep. And I don't know. And I definitely get what you're saying of like, do you want this break for them right now and stuff? Maybe it's, cooling them off or whatever. But I mean, we're talking about since April. It's July now. They've been on a heater for a while. I'm not worried about.
Not even since April. Remember, they started playing in January. They did the LCS lock-in. So
I mean, since like the win streak. I think they bumped it up to being a top tier team. I'm saying they've been in this form for like 3 months now. I'm thinking that this might just be who they are, not like, they're in great form and they're going to lose it. I think they're probably just really good.
They're just studs, dude. I love this team. Yeah, so, I mean, that was going to be my argument was them. For TSM 2, I actually think they probably practiced both weeks, to be honest with you. I think if there was a team in the LCS not named Immortals that needed more time to come together, which seems to be the problem with this team right now, is that they just cannot come together. I think, we already spent 20 minutes talking about TSM, but I do think this break is going to be super beneficial to them. I think them and C9 and Evil Geniuses are the clear winners of this break. I mean, how could you not be, right? How could you not be excited about it? So I love that. I'm going to head into my losers real quick for it. I think 100 Thieves are a bit of a loser on it just because they were really hot. You know, they go 2-0 in the last week. They're, I think, 6-2 now, or no, 5-2, something like that. Yeah, 5-2. I want to say
5-2. 5-2.
You know, and after coming off a week where I was pretty concerned about them, they came out and just smoked some teams, and they played pretty well. So I you know, normally when you get that kind of momentum, you know, a 2-0 week, you kind of want to just keep rolling with it. So don't love it for them. The other team that kind of concerns me is CLG. They've now had a week to kind of wallow over an 0-2 that they really probably were hoping would at least be a 1-1. They played C9, they played TL. Neither game was very close. And sure, they've had time to maybe fix some things, but the hype from this team, right? Everybody, including us, were like, okay, maybe this team is better than the sum of its parts. Maybe they have figured out something, you know, because they got through week 2 and were like, okay, like this team still looks pretty good. You do an 0-2 to, again, top 5 teams, kind of puts them right in that 6 range for me, you know, because I don't think TL were unbeatable by any stretch, and I think Cloud9 were definitely beatable with the little amount of practice they've had as 5. So those are my 2 teams that I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, like, not great for them. Not great for them. They probably really wanted to, you know, continue the role, trying to figure some things out. It's a lot easier to forget things when you just head straight back into the action.
Yeah, you get to the next one.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly. So
yeah,
those are my 2.
I disagree a little bit. I mean, I think not that I think those are like bad or wrong or whatever. I think when I was going through the list, I think mine is FlyQuest. I think they did not want a break right now. You know, they're coming off a week where they were 2-3 before. They get up to 4-3. They had a 2-0 week, I believe. You know, taking down Cloud9, I think that was kind of a big win that might actually, you know, if you think CLG's kind of fallen right now, I think FlyQuest is the one coming up and taking their spot. I think they would like to be playing right now. You know, I know you've been talking about Tuki a lot throughout these episodes and stuff. He's in great form. He wants to keep playing. Yeah, I think after a 2-0 week for them, I'm sure they wanted to, you know, get right back into things because I think they're a team. Maybe like CLG, I think they're better than CLG, but maybe a team like CLG that's might go hot and cold through stretches throughout the, you know, I don't think they're going to be consistently good, consistently beating these teams. And I think more time off might give some of these other teams time to catch up to them, like a Cloud9 or like something like that, when they seem to be ahead of them last week. But I am curious to see how FlyQuest is going to come out this next week. I still think they're a middle of the pack team, but they got a chance to prove that wrong for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, I think I'm going to do my hot take real quick. I think Tuki is top 2 for MVP right now. I know a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? They're only 4-3. Dude, just go look. I think he's died 6 times or something like that. It's a pretty low amount. It may be a little more. That might have been like a 2 week ago stat. But, dude, he is just playing out of his mind right now. I think if you don't consider him an MVP, I think you're just wrong. I mean, this team, I like the feel and the look of this team. Like, it really, I think, is determined with Jose Diodo. I do think that he is, when he is on, this team could theoretically be, I wouldn't say unbeatable, but really, really, really hard to take down, right? Because Tuki looks good. That Johnson Aframu bot lane, man, they are fun. Johnson is just so much more confident when he is with Aframu. I mean, you literally look. It's weird. The dichotomy. Well, I think Aframu is just great at giving his AD carries support. I don't know. Like, I really wish that more people would talk about the support role not just being about stats and all these other things. I'm a big stats guy, for sure. Yeah. But, like, if you look at the way that Aframu helps his AD carries, I don't know that there's anybody in the league right now that does it better than him. There's an Aframu buff that comes with playing with him. There just is. And if you really look back on it, it has happened time after time after time. I mean, Cody's son right, looked immensely better with Afromu. His replacement, the guy whose name started with an R, who replaced him at Worlds, like, oh God, what was his name? Like Ryoku or something like that. I know I'm butchering it, but do you remember the guy who replaced Cody?
No, I can't
remember his name, but it started with an
I know
R.
that they didn't take him to Worlds or whatever, but yeah, I can't remember the guy's name.
So,
you never heard of him again.
Yeah, exactly. But he looked like an okay laner. Like he was actually serviceable at Worlds. That should have never happened. They still weren't good, but like he didn't look like he was completely out of his depth, and I'm sure that a lot had to do with Afromu. It's just like every time. I mean, Neo had like a freaking all-pro split when Afromu was on his team. I mean, it's just, and now look at Neo. Like some think that he's one of the worst ADCs. I think you're out of your mind if you think that, but they think he's down there. I like the way that this team is put together, and the big question mark was Philip. I don't think Philip's going to continue to dominate, but do I think that he actually looks like he could be a pretty good prospect and somebody who honestly could turn into something pretty nice for them? Absolutely. I mean, this FlyQuest team is fun, and I'm just going to say if they make top 3 by the end of the playoffs, there's no way that you can't put Tuki out there, because regardless of how well everybody else is playing, this dude is consistent. He's constantly winning lane. He is constantly getting kills for this team, big kills. He is constantly making plays. The dude is good, and I think he deserves some recognition. It would be crazy for him to beat out Inspired. I'm not going to go that far because I think Inspired is just playing out of his mind right now. But yeah, Tuki is my number 2 right now for MVP, and I think he's probably already being overlooked.
Yeah. I mean, what this FlyQuest team's been able to do, I mean, especially dollar for dollar, just making assumptions, but yeah, pretty crazy stuff. I will say, it seems like we talk about Afromu every week too, but he's got to be the guy, for me at least, if I'm a mid to lower tier LCS team and I can have like a choice of somebody, realistically to get on my team and build like a real significant foundation, Afromu's got to be up there, because you're talking about what he's been able to do with so many different AD carries at this point. Mm-hmm. Not only is he good, he's gonna help your AD carry be good. Then you got like at least 2 out of your 5 are gonna be real solid. Yep. Especially with him being a resident veteran leader, all that stuff. Like he just brings so much to these teams. Mm-hmm. He's not a mega superstar. He's not one of these guys who's like, oh, I'm not gonna play on a bad team. I'm not gonna play for less than $1 million or whatever. Yeah. And yeah, he shows up to these middle to bad teams and he performs. He just is there to do his job, and he does it damn good. And a couple years ago maybe things were different, but as of late, you have Afromu, your team's decent at least, and that's I think that's a lot more than you can say than most players in the LCS. Like power of evil, he's on a great team last year. Now he's like a whole different person. Afromu's staying steady.
Yeah, and I think we could go on about Afromu, but I think what's also impressive is I think he's going to be like one of the first 30-year-old players to actually be significant in the league. Yeah. Like, I don't see him slowing down anytime soon, because what he's using right now is his brain more than he is his mechanics. And when you can do something like that, that makes you good. That makes you consistent. Like, I think there's an argument that could be had already that he's probably the best LCS support of all time. I know people would want to say Core JJ, but he hasn't been here longer than Afromu. He's had more accomplishments for sure. But when you just look at the terms of a player who is constantly doing well, who is constantly there, I love it. I mean, it's hard not to gush over him when you just see what he does. He comes in split after split and does his job, and he just does it without question, no complaint, nothing. You don't see him out here trash talking people, writing names on his head, which I do love about Vulcan. But I don't know, man. Like he's great. He's great. He's not just good to me. He is great. And whatever. People can disagree with me. That's fine. I've seen some people, even big name people, rank him near like the bottom 2 in supports, and I'm like, bro, what are you on? Do you watch these games? But
yeah, it's crazy.
It's all right. With that, I think we got to start looking forward, right? There are teams that are going to be making the playoffs. There are teams that are not. The only team that I think is truly very, very likely out of it is Immortals. And I feel like after that, it should be Dignitas. I would love to get your thoughts on them once we kind of get through this, but they're just bad. I just think they're terrible, actually. I wouldn't even say just bad. I think they're terrible. Like,
Immortals or Dignitas?
both.
Yeah.
Truly both.
I'm on board.
I just think they are terrible teams. I think Immortals should be better than Dignitas.
Right.
But I think River, like, I don't know. I say that and I'm like, I rethink about it and I'm like, well, actually, like, Neo and Biofrost aren't too bad. Blue's actually been playing decently this split. And I actually think River's super underrated too. I just think Gamsu doesn't look good. I think Blue is too on and off. I don't know. They've been playing terribly. I don't know that maybe I should stop saying they are terrible, but
I think they're a notch above whatever's going on at Immortals, but my problem with each of those two teams and just organizations in general is like, okay, you guys suck. You can argue maybe you're going to be 7th, maybe you're going to be 8th, maybe you'll make the playoffs because the LCS playoff system is just ridiculous. Like,
dumb.
The fact that 8 teams make it doesn't even make any sense. It's like the LCS regular season is already very boring. You know, we like watching it. It's fun. I hated that there was none to watch this past weekend, but the LCS regular season sucks. It's boring all, whatever. Let's make it even more boring. Everybody makes the playoffs too. So the games literally don't mean anything. But yeah, so you're going to suck. Whether you're going to be 7th place suck, 8th place suck, 9th place, whatever. You can't suck and just be the most uninteresting teams and players in the world. Like, there is nothing that is getting me to tune into a Dignitas game. Like, yeah, Neo and Biofrost, they're okay. They're fine. Blue, he's fine sometimes. He had a really good game against TSM.
Yes,
that was actually kind of interesting to watch. It seemed like, because it was like almost an even matchup or whatever, but like 80% of their games are just so boring. Like, the players are boring, the org is boring, there's just nothing there of like substance at all, and that just makes it even worse for me, and it just makes me not want to give them the benefit of the doubt on anything else.
And I think this is why, and we'll transition a little bit here because we still have a lot that I think is worth discussing, and I think this will be an off-season topic that we'll go over a little bit more in depth, maybe even devote an episode or two to.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something I want to do. That's my thing.
Same. I think the LCS needs to expand this year. And the reason is I think it will expose these other teams so much to the point where they're either going to be embarrassed and potentially pushed out, or they're going to have to do what FlyQuest did. I mean, FlyQuest was boring, uninteresting, not great. And then Trish came in and was like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. Like, you get one person in there who clearly cares, who wants to change things up, who wants to give a team an identity.
Yeah,
you're not
That's
wrong.
The biggest thing. She's trying, and like, I think in some ways what FlyQuest did was really cool. I think in some ways it's like, hey, I roast me, whatever. I think in some ways a lot of what FlyQuest did kind of missed the mark. Like, they were doing something, they were trying something, and it's like, what was I ever like super hyped up about or whatever? No, but it got some people talking. It was at least a thing. You could at least think of FlyQuest and something would pop into your head, whether it was, FlyQuest, TreeQuest, Trisha, just showing up and making Twitter videos and showing her face known and saying, hey, this is FlyQuest, this is who we are, this is what we're about. Maybe we're not for you. And I think for a lot of people, maybe it wasn't for them. It's not like FlyQuest has some booming fan base now or anything like that.
Well, it's booming compared to what it was.
Right. And at least they're trying. Like, if I look at like Dignitas or Immortals or whatever, it's like, they haven't had any successes, but what has even been their failures? Like, that is what is so frustrating to me. Like, how do you have a team and an org? Like, what are you guys doing throughout the year? What does the offseason look like? I don't get it. And I think the idea of expansion is interesting, and it's something that I maybe, would be in favor of potentially. I don't think it will ever happen just because revenue sharing and the owners would have to approve it and all that stuff. I just think it's super, super unlikely. But I also think
there's a plan for it to happen, if not this year, next year, just so you know. I believe that's already in the conversations right now because the LEC is for sure doing it, as far as I know, this coming year. And I believe the LCS is planning on an expansion the next year.
I would still be very, very surprised. I've heard mixed things about the LEC as well. I know there's a lot of, that's where I'm coming with the LCS thing is in the LEC. I know there's been a lot of pushback on that side, especially from lower tier teams that really don't want to split that revenue in 11th and 12th way.
be better. Be more entertaining.
For sure.
I mean,
for sure. But it is still stuff that's and it's still things that are going to have to be voted on or whatever. And I think it's going to be interesting. I think it also makes a lot more sense because like when you see, I was looking and like when Schalke sold their slot last year, it sold for like close to $40 million, like $37 million, something like that.
The amount that it was initially.
Yeah. And I wonder, like, in an expansion, what those slots would be going for. I assume it would
20
be
to
less.
30. It'll be 20 to 30 probably. I would assume the LCS and the LEC. The one thing League and Riot have done really well is they didn't do the Overwatch League thing where it was like 30 to 60 million automatically to get in. Where the Overwatch League just didn't have enough to substantiate that. With League of Legends, like regardless of what people think about the viewership, it is still like. Here's what I'll say. Like I think this is worth talking about real quick. Is that regardless of what you think, the LCS still being able to bring in 70 to 100,000 people every single game, essentially, except for the really bad ones, is actually still top tier. Like people don't, I think, really realize that. Apex Legends had their ALGS, like their world championship. It was super fun to watch. But it was only kind of getting close to 100,000 people, right? And this is like, Apex Legends is one of the biggest games in the world.
Right, and that's like a major tournament final.
It's a major. It's essentially equivalent to Worlds, right? The LCS is still bringing in a huge viewership. The problem is that in America right now, esports are not yet in the same vein as the East. It takes time. People just aren't willing to be patient, and I understand that. But like, do you know how long it took baseball, basketball, football, number one sport in America is football. Do you know how long it took them to get to that spot? Until the 2000s. And for the first 30 plus years, nobody gave a shit about football.
Right. And it wasn't straight up. There's ups and downs and everything.
Exactly.
Now, going through the downs sucks, and the downs happen for maybe some things that are totally uncontrollable. Maybe some things are controllable. I think it's fair to be critical and all that and try to limit the downsides and stuff, but very normal cycle of just how the world works.
Exactly. And the thing is like, even people are like commenting, oh, baseball is falling. Like, people always like to say that things are falling just because they're not growing. And it's like, there's a big difference. The steady viewership that is coming in for the LCS is why they still have humongous sponsors. It's why Team Liquid got Honda, one of the biggest car companies in the world, to be a major sponsor for them and even give naming rights to them. Like, these are like... Now, I will say, by the way, the reason why teams are doing that is because they're struggling to get investment money. But that's a whole nother situation. I just think that, like, the LCS is doing fine. The LEC, they're doing fine. Are they growing right now? No. But everything is falling off after COVID, right? Where people were just watching stuff all the time. This has already been the most busy traveling summer ever.
People are outside.
Yeah, people are doing stuff, right? And like, once you get towards the end of the summer, when people get back to school, I can even tell you, running a website, our numbers during the summer, our numbers during literally any other time.
That's what I was telling you a couple of weeks ago. I was like, July and August are my two worst months, and it's not even close. Even though there's league going on, we're right off of MSI. Exactly. We're in the middle of summer split. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not good.
It's like it's the same way like with baseball, right? The dog days of summer, like their viewership and stuff goes down once people get back into school. Once it's not summer and people are not going to the beach and stuff, everything's going to be fine. Like, you will see, and I'm sure I'm all for shocking narratives and stuff, but when cooler heads prevail, like, I'm telling you, the LCS can expand, and I do think that they are planning on it, because here's the deal: when a team buys in. If they buy in for $30 million, that's part of the rev share that goes to these teams. They will get money from that. It is beneficial for there to be $60 million potentially that is added to the league. I'm telling you, like, that Schalke money, that $37 million, that didn't all go to Schalke. A portion of that went to the LEC as well. Okay, so there is massive benefit, and there are teams and people out there who would love to get into League of Legends. I'm telling you, it is the most consistent esport out there, and consistency is key in esports, and it's the only reason why franchising works realistically only in League of Legends, because it's been consistent. It's been around for 11 years. and it's not falling off. It is steady. And it's, I think, league player, like, overall, even in the West, is actually starting to grow a little bit, if I remember a report I read recently. So,
yeah,
I think that we'll talk about this, I think, a lot more in depth, you and I, once the offseason comes about. I think we'll discuss this, and I think we'll discuss the playoffs maybe once we get a little bit closer to, because I do think the playoffs are ridiculous, and I think the regular season needs to change. But I guess we kind of went on a tangent here, but I think this is a good one to discuss, and we'll see what happens, because just go out and watch the games, guys. I mean, there are good teams. I still think this is the best the LCS has ever been. I think there are the parity in the league right now is unbelievable. I really do believe that there are 6 teams at least that are good enough when they're at their best to do some damage at Worlds. Are they going to win Worlds? No. But are they going to do damage? Yeah, I realistically think they will. So we'll have to see. I don't know. You got any final thoughts on this topic, and then we'll head into our last one here.
No, I mean it's definitely something we're gonna be following. Definitely something I'm gonna want to continue to hear about. And I mean the conversations are gonna keep coming up about expansion or team selling and who's coming in, who's coming and going, and people are always gonna be interested in that. And there's a lot swirling around right now. There's a lot of different ways it could go. I hope. I mean, obviously, I'm like everybody else. I hope something happens because. Yeah, the bottom couple teams are frustrating, and like obviously, Mr. Beast is a big name being thrown around right now. Like I
would love for him to own a team. I'd be
I would love it for nothing other than I want to know what his content strategy would be. Everyone, I think I'm maybe a little bit more skeptical than most people if everyone's like, oh, Mr. Beast will come in, he'll be a home run, he'll reinvent, like. Hey, people have gone for big projects before. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Just because he's a big YouTuber doesn't mean he's going to be a great LCS owner, org owner, or whatever. But he would have some kind of strategy. He wouldn't be Dignitas Immortals who are doing nothing. Maybe it would work. Maybe it'd resonate with the fan base. Maybe it wouldn't. But I want to see it.
He could be the next Nadeshot. I mean, that's what Nadeshot did. Like, people forget, Nadeshot was obviously like a huge COD player. The first thing he invested in was League of Legends. 100 Thieves' first team was League of Legends. It's one of the biggest orgs in the world now. They started with League and he did an interview, I think like maybe a year after he got in, and people asked him like, why not COD? Why League? And he's like, cause League is consistent. League knows what it's doing. It understands it. Mr. Beast would benefit from all the other owners, because they would want to see him succeed as well, because it would mean that they succeed. Right. They don't need him to succeed in terms of winning, but in terms of his team being entertaining, I just would hope that he wouldn't name his team literally like Mr. Beast. Like, I don't want to talk about Mr. Beast, the team. Like, that's dumb.
He said it would be called Beast Gaming.
I don't hate it. I'll be honest with you. I don't love team names most of the time. Like
gaming.
Yeah, like I really didn't even like 100 Thieves. I still think they should have just been the Thieves, but maybe that's my old man sports thing coming in. But like, I think most of these, like even FlyQuest, like what the hell is a FlyQuest still?
No, a lot of names are bad.
They're just
a lot of the logos are bad. A lot of the brands are bad.
I love TSM, but it's like Team Solo Mid. Okay, like whatever. They'll never change it. They can't now, but like I don't know. That's part of the reason why I like Golden Guardians so much. I think it's actually a great name. Like they have one of the best names in the LCS, no doubt.
My feud with Golden Guardians for the past couple of years has been the fact that they changed it from GGS to GG.
Yeah.
Everyone says GGS. It seems like that's what stuck, and it just seems so weird to me that they fight this like battle.
You're supposed to have three like letters in your name. Like that's what it's supposed to be. The abbreviations for all sports are now. If they became the San Francisco Golden Guardians, they could be the SFG or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but I just think it's funny. That's been like my slight dig at them all the time. Every time I talk about them, I always put like when I tweet about it, I always put GGS. I always go out of my way to relive.
I forgot that they had actually changed it.
I know it's super weird, but yeah, they were like, "No, we are GG." Okay, whatever.
I love it. All right, let's real quickly. I wanted to get since we're technically halfway through. I'm starting to come through a little on your end, by the way. while you're fixing that, I wanted to discuss your top players at each position. I know this is a little bit off the top. We had kind of discussed this in the past, but I want to know, who do you have as your top player in the top lane, jungle, mid, bot, all that. So let's I can start too if you want.
Yeah. I was gonna say you can start, or if I was gonna start, I wouldn't be able to start in the top lane. I think top lane's maybe one of the ones where I have to think for a second. But you can go. I'm looking right now.
Concede to me. All right, give me 2 seconds to bring it up. I had this ready. I forgot that I didn't.
The only thing I know is off the top of my head, Inspired, you already said in the jungle, he's like lockdown for me. I've been so impressed with him, the champ pool, the decision making, everything. I don't really think you can go away from Inspired in the jungle.
Yeah, I agree. I think
I also don't just want to say all Evil Geniuses players, because I think that's something that people fall into a lot of the times. Evil Genius is great, and they might have a top player at every single position, but just with how League of Legends is snowbally, team reliant and stuff, like, you're going to look better on the good teams too. So I always feel a little bit bad just saying the best team.
Yeah, I mean, right now it'd probably be Someday again for me. He's actually quietly having a pretty solid. He's not like doing what he did last split where he was amazing, but most of the top laners are not performing.
That's what I was just looking. I was like, who am I even going to say?
I like Someday. I think I'd put him there for right now. I think an under the radar one, and one that people are not going to talk about at all, but somebody who deserves to be talked about more, is Licorice.
Oh yeah, and we say that every week.
I know. I don't get it, man. He's so damn good. He's just so good.
I was thinking about him like coming into this offseason. I think he would be like an interesting buyout candidate for some of these teams as well. Like when I started looking at, I think it's unlikely, but yeah, I think it would be. I want to see him on a top team again. He was really good on Cloud9. Mm-hmm. I want to see what that looks like.
Yeah, imagine him on like, I don't know, replacing Impact if Impact does end up leaving.
Yeah, I'm looking at all these rosters. Top lane is pretty disgusting. Like, there's just not a lot of standouts and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I would have to go Someday too. I think Impact has still been good, but when I look at the EG team, it's not like, oh, Impact is the reason why they're winning right now. I think he provides a lot of good stuff to this team. But yeah, I think Someday, just for the fact that Someday has been such a surprise to me this year. Because I was fully writing him off after last year.
Yeah, I agree. We'll go to mid lane then, since we both already agreed on Inspired. I'm going to put Tuki there right now. I know Bjergsen has better numbers than him, but I just think that Tuki has been doing more with less consistently. And if I had an all-pro vote, it would be hard-pressed for me to not put him. I mean, he just looks really good. He's only a couple kills behind Bjergsen. He's actually died less, and he's only a couple assists behind him. He's winning in most of his lanes. I think I'm going to put him for right now.
Yeah, I got to ride out Bjergsen. I definitely think Tuki's been interesting, and I have no problem with that. But yeah, Bjergsen's been good. I'm happy to see that he is kind of ramping up, and I still think he has more room to go. Like I haven't been watching these games and been like, oh, Bjergsen's back, he's ready. You know, I've been like, okay, Bjergsen looks better than last split. I think that's very exciting.
I agree.
But yeah, he still had some underwhelming moments, some underwhelming team fights and stuff where people are hypercritical of him. You know, it's like if he does a weird something, it's like that's going to be talked about after the game. But I think he's been good.
I've loved him, and I think he's the crazy part, like you said. There's still this button that he can press where he can carry, and he hasn't needed to yet, and I can't wait for it to happen.
Maybe he won't get there. I hope he still can go to that place. I think he can, but
I would think that
we got to see it.
Yeah. Bot lane, I actually have two people for this that I would want to put. I'll do my surprise one again real quick. I'll Johnson, to me, he's really looked great, to be honest with you. He's consistently winning a lane. He's consistently, honestly, making big plays for the team when they need it now. And what was the big change for them last week, the last time they played, was that they actually played their mid and late game really well. He was a huge part of that. And so I like this FlyQuest team, man. They're fun. My real like full on answer is Danny. I mean, good God, this kid is just unbelievable. And I'll put Vulcan down there too because he's been the best support. I don't think there's much to argue with those two. I mean,
I think Vulcan's clearly the best support too. I definitely think Danny at 80 carry as well. The bot lane's always so weird, talking about like Aphromoo, how he makes his players look better. Bot lane's so together, unless somebody's really standing out one way or the other. And 80 carry is kind of a weird position this year too. It's like you look at the top teams, like Hansama's been pretty underwhelming. FBI hasn't been like a crazy standout.
He's been consistent, dude. I don't know if I'd say that about FBI. I keep looking at these games and watching them, and I'm like, dude, the biggest criticism I had of him was his team fight positioning was always just so passive back in the day. He's not like upset level of positioning, but I think he's the best positioning AD. I think he is. I think people just got so used to talking about him being the best that it's kind of like a LeBron James kind of thing where it's like people just got tired of talking about him being the best. Mm-hmm. Danny's clearly the best right now, but I think FBI is right behind him. I'm loving what I'm seeing.
I've been a big proponent of FBI. I always think FBI is good, but I'm not like,
you're not there.
He's definitely better than Danny right now. He's got to be number one. He's a guy who I know can take it to that next level and does. So, I think when 100 Thieves at their best, FBI is kind of the big guy. Obviously, Closer has a lot of those crazy games too. But I think if 100 Thieves is like going to go and do something at Worlds, I think it's going to be with FBI winning those fights and stuff. And I think he can do it. I think they're so streaky. They run so hot and cold, so random off games, random off weeks.
Yeah.
I just hope their form lines up, right patch, right week, whatever. But yeah, it's so weird because we're talking about all the parity in the LCS and stuff, and that's what makes these things hard too. It's like many of these teams and players are really, really
They're
close.
There's well.
There's not a best, clear like juggernaut or whatever. EG is looking really, really good, but there's just like a clump at the top right now of players at most positions.
And I was gonna say,
it's not just how the game has changed too. It's like you can't get these individual huge gaps in skill as much as you once did in like season 5 or something.
I agree. And I was just going to say, like, I'm like getting excited kind of just talking about these teams because like I just went and looked. FBI and Blabber, okay? 2 players that I think are consistently just great all the time. FBI's 23 still. Blabber is only 22. Yeah. Like, these guys...
He came up really young.
I know, and he's already won multiple MVPs, multiple championships. I mean, the future for North America is just so much brighter than I think people realize. And there are a lot of really good players who are only going to get better. Like, do we have a Faker? No. Like, whatever. If you want to make that kind of a comparison, then, like, whatever. I guess we'll just never be able to talk about it. But, like, some of these like players are still young. I mean, we're talking about Chime getting his first real chance on an LCS team at 23. He is already older than FBI, than Blabber. Like, these guys have so long left to play that it's just like the LCS is getting better and better, like you said. And I mean, and you look at all of these positions. It used to be that like the bottom 5 players at each position were kind of shit.
Yeah, you could tell. You could watch the game and be like,
difference.
He's not probably LCS level, but is there really anybody else who could replace him?
Yeah, and like the crazy part is like in Academy, there are players who are getting better, who will push these guys. Right.
And that's my issue of expansion. Like, I would love 2 more teams, but I don't know what 2 more teams look like. I guess there's so many more players that I wish could get opportunities. And the 2 other teams that come in, would be better than Immortals and Dignitas and stuff. But it's like,
I think they would be.
It's just that's where I go back and forth. It's like I want the 2 more teams of players, but I don't want 2 more just dead teams doing nothing. And it's easy when people are coming in. It's like I look over to the LEC right now, and BDS had the promises of like, hey guys, we have a rich owner. We're gonna come in and do all this stuff. Like, they're only 1 year in, but they have not really delivered on anything that they've said so far.
They depended way too much on players who hadn't proved enough, and even in the LFL and stuff, or the ERLs. Sorry, I could say that and be wrong, but I think I'm like they're all young. Like, they really should have signed a veteran to be with that team. Like, just one. Like, I actually think Evander would have been a really good pickup for a team like that. He's not playing this year, but even just last year, he was, before Trimby took over, he was good for Rogue. So, like, get somebody like that who can help develop these guys and give you something stable. They just don't. BDS has nobody who's stable. Nuclear, Inseong. We're not. This isn't an LEC show, but all their players are young with not a lot of experience. Now they're starting to play a little bit better right now, but and it doesn't help that most of the LCS is also stacked. When Astralis is actually good, that means the LEC. Yeah, that means the LEC is actually starting to step it up. Like, I'm a little more worried about them than I was.
I guess part of our argument is just the fact that the teams, even some of these teams we might be excited about. BDS has some money, they're coming in. Oh, the BDS going to form a super team or whatever. Like, okay, they don't get such a good team, and then you fall into this cyclical cycle of, we don't have a good team, so we're not getting any bandwagon fans. Well, now what are we going to do? We got all this money, but we're kind of just another forgetful team, and those things could change going into the future. But it's like,
for sure.
Beast Gaming comes in. If they have 5 players that nobody cares about watching, like, you're fighting an uphill battle. So that's what I worry about. But there's a lot of exciting players. Part of me wonders, we have Blabber, we have FBI, we have all these young, exciting guys with a bright future ahead of them. Like, what are the next couple off-season years going to look like? Are we going to be bringing in more exciting young people? Is we just going to keep this group for a while? Are we going to lose some players back to the LEC? Or like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Is the talent going to trickle down? Are we still just going to have these? There's so many different ways it could go. I think it's going to be really interesting. And I think it's going to define kind of, the next 3 to 5 years.
I would argue the next 5 to 10, honestly. I really think this is a pretty crucial moment here in the next few years as to what the LEC and the LCS and, well, really Western League is going to look like. That's such a deep conversation I think we could have during the offseason. I think it would be one worth having too. But, that was fun. Okay, we have one thing still left to do. Well, 2 things. You have not given your hot take yet. So we need to get your hot take.
I don't ever know what we're going to talk about in these episodes when I get my hot takes ready. It's like,
I'm just flowing with it, man. I'm just Tuki.
I like it, but my hot takes are never topical. I'm always just coming out of nowhere. So I like that we even started talking about offseason. I hope we talk about them more. That's already my content on my channel. I'm starting to gear it in that direction. We're talking about, hey, July and August, they suck. Nobody cares, whatever. So I got to dip into the bag. Okay, you guys don't care about the regular stuff? We're
Sticking your hand to the cookie jar, baby. I love it.
Yeah. I posted Fnatic perks today, and that was doing good. So this is the direction we're going. So I started putting out tweets and posts and stuff, just talking about, hey, guys, give me your craziest offseason stuff. I want to hear it. I want to get the gears going. I think it's funny because last year, stuff started happening in September, and everyone was like, oh, it's September, shut up, like, you guys are idiots, all that stuff. So I'm bringing it out in July this year, and one of the more interesting comments I got, and I got this from multiple people actually, and it made me really start thinking, I want to say as my hot take that I could see, and I'm just going to say that this is going to happen, 100 Thieves Larssen next year.
Oh.
I think it could make a lot of sense for
I love
him.
that.
400 Thieves. I know we had talked about VTO and stuff a little bit, and I love that idea on paper, but I don't think it's super, super realistic. Rogue has sold off a couple players over the past couple years. They also don't like to sell their players in the LEC. They would love to ship them across the ocean if they can.
That's fair.
If Rogue, I don't think they're going to do anything too crazy this year. They're good again, but they're always just not good enough. And I think 100 Thieves, if a guy like Larssen pops up, I don't know how you don't go super aggressive for that. And that would, part of me just hopes that's what happens, because I think it'd be super fun. But somebody told me that, and I was like, that's mine.
That's a good hot take. Because I think Rogue would have to be thrown in the bag, because we don't know how much longer Odoamne has where he's at. Trimby's young still. If I remember correctly, I think is Patrick there, or is it Comp? Comp is their AD carry.
Yeah. And Odo is a free agent, so that also adds into a little something.
I don't even remember who's the jungler right now for Rogue. With Inspired Leading. God dang it, Malrong. That's right. He's been actually pretty good. I've enjoyed him.
Yeah, they've been good. They've been good. The LEC, top of the LEC is tough again. I think maybe they make it to Worlds, maybe not. Maybe they have another burnout or whatever. But I just think they're an org that's shown they're willing to deal around. I think the 100 Thieves mid lane issue is going to pop up again at some point. But I just think it'd be a really fun matchup.
Abadage. That's my only concern.
I don't think so. I think
I think Larssen's better. I definitely think he's better. But I also thought Abadage was really good when he came over. Like, he was super underrated to me, and I feel kind of similarly about Larssen. But well, that I like that take. I mean, honestly, I'm intrigued because
I'm gonna start pushing it. It's gonna be. I'm gonna make it a thing.
You're gonna will it into existence, huh?
Well, not even that. I'm just gonna get it to the point where enough people care about it that more people are talking about it. That's right. I gotta make my
hit you up and be like, thank you, bro. Now I know the fans love it.
I'm gonna DM Tim and be like, hey Tim, man, we gotta settle this.
I'm helping you out, bro. I am helping you out, man. Oh,
I'm sorry. God. I'm sorry for everything that happened, but
oh my god, that would be. I would love to see that thread. What a DM that could be.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Oh, we have too much fun on this show. All right, so our punishment is that we're actually gonna have to eat something hot. Now we're gonna make it relative. I literally think I would die if I had to eat like a Carolina Reaper or something. I cannot tell you that.
It's funny because I've worked in restaurants and stuff before. Like part of my nutrition and everything, you got to work in restaurants. You got to do the whole thing. I cannot do spicy stuff at all. It literally anything spicy at all, I start crying almost immediately. There will be tears. I've had to eat. So like when we work in the restaurant, you have to taste your own foods. Like I've had to do the stuff, and it's instant.
We got okay. It has to be you this time. It won't even be bad. We'll do like mild sauce for freaking. No,
I'm down for whatever. But I'm just saying that is a funny part of it.
Oh my god! See, for me, I'm just gonna sit here and just bitch the entire time. Be like, this is stupid. I hate this. Like, my heart rate's gonna get too high, and I'm gonna be like, I'm out of here. I hate it. Oh, okay. So it's gonna be our first time doing a spicy food. We will do more, I'm sure, eventually with it. But we figured why not? It's time. The hot takes with the hot food. So, all right. Any last words to the people outside of go comment and subscribe and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad LCS is back this weekend. Last weekend definitely didn't feel right. Even though complaining about it and saying how all the games are boring and everything sucks.
We want it.
Regular life maybe sucks a little bit more. So I'm glad it's going to be back. Same stuff as always. I'd love to hear your guys' hot takes. And also, hey, I'm on the off-season kick. I want to hear what's going to happen, why it's going to happen, your craziest stuff. I'm not the person to be like, oh, it's too early. Oh, that's too
not
crazy.
Even halfway through the season,
all the time.
Bro. Not even halfway through the split.
It's what my whole year leads up to. So we're getting ready. Hey, we're already starting to see there's some top teams, there's some bottom teams, there's some storyline shaping up. Let's get it going. I'm trying to do my part into the LCS ecosystem. If this is what I can do, let's get it rolling. Send me some stuff. Put it in the comments. I'm ready.
I love it. I love it so much. All right. Well, with that, like he said, leave us some comments. Let us know whose take is spicier, literally this time. And for Jerm, I'm Rob, and we'll catch you all next week.
Peace.